Hey guys, another video for our Buying a House in Japan playlist. So you might remember that project. The Unskilled gardener put a boundary around that bamboo because it kept expanding across the driveway, and that's worked really well. So we've been wondering if we can do the same thing with this huge bamboo we've got over here, because it does the same thing. It wants to expand across the garden, which we'd love it to do because we love the bamboo. It gives us great shade in the afternoon. It has birds in it, all sorts of creatures, snakes and mukata as well. But it's just a bit too spready. I mean, we want to keep the garden. We need to have the grass for the kids to play on, so we can't let it take over. And in the other direction, there's power lines that it starts to touch as well, power line and phone line. So you can see how full of beans it is from spring through to autumn. It just keeps shooting, and it puts up these shoots really quickly. And within a week, they're a meter or 2 meters tall. And they're like asparagus. They're really soft and really wet, and they grow up really tall, 2 or 3 meters, 4 meters, and then they start to get little branches and leaves, and then they start to thicken up, and then they become hard like wood. But for that first couple of weeks, they're really soft. So it's a constant fight. We're constantly fighting them off, constantly breaking them off and cutting off the roots and things. So the plan was actually just to do one side, but it did get out of hand. So you can't really swing a big tool in there. So the biggest tool you can get in there is a shovel. And then it turned out that a few other tools were required as well. So a shovel and a crowbar, interestingly enough, turned out to be really useful. The good news was that the main big fat root that comes out, that those shoots come up off, a big thick root, is actually not very deep, which was good news because we weren't sure how deep we'd have to go. And that big thick root is actually not very deep. You can see it there just underneath those leaves, and then from that it sends out smaller roots lower down to get water. So as long as we put a barrier to stop those big thick roots that aren't very deep, that should stop it expanding. No doubt it'll keep trying to, and we'll probably have to keep cutting bits off now and again. But we suspect if it works half as well as it worked around the smaller bamboo, that was really effective. So same material, it's about $3 a sheet, 1.2 meters. And they all clip together. It's really good stuff. We used it once, and then after that we've been using it all over the place. Some of you will be aware of that. But it's really good. It's made for market gardens and things like that. So it's made to be really strong and stand up really well in the weather. So it's the right material. So just a bit of experimenting here. The trick is you can just sort of throw it in, but they do join together, which means if you make your hole sort of the same depth all the way around, you can pretty much make it all the same height, pretty much. But it's a bit tricky. You've got to sort of, in some places, of course, your trench has to be deeper than others, so it was a bit tricky. But you can see there's sort of a diggy tool. The gloves were useless, kept getting big blisters from all that work. It took hours. It was like 2 or 3 hours a day, every day for 2 weeks, something like that. So a couple of hours before work or a couple of hours after work, or whenever the opportunity presented itself, and slowly dug a trench around. So I'm going to do half originally, the front half, and then it's sort of, no, I might as well do the whole thing. See the root, you see the big root there, and the crowbar. Crowbar's the tool to get it out. And then the other tools to sort of dig down deeper. Then the shovel. And then back to the crowbar and the shovel, and then the tomahawk. Tomahawk's good too. So it was a bit of a thing, but quite pleasant sitting in the shade of the bamboo, because the weather was still pretty warm when we started this job. Still is now. And sitting in the shade of the bamboo. Interesting, when the breeze blows through the bamboo, it comes out the other side really cool. So we love the bamboo. It's really, really good. Very pleasant to be near. So yeah, digging the roots is hard, slow work. Got to be really patient. Dig through them, dig down. The soil that was coming out, we're just throwing on the grass, just sort of filling any sort of lower parts of the grass, just using it like topsoil. Oh yeah, tiles. Look, Mentioned in a previous video, anywhere we dig in the garden, we find pottery and tiles. Just anywhere you dig, anywhere you dig. There's car parks in our town that they've just sort of smoothed them over with a grader, and they're just covered in pieces of pottery. So it makes you wonder, every time you dig one up, it's like, wonder how old this is. It could be 50 years old, or it could be 500 years old, you never know. But of course, all the way around we're finding little bits of pottery. So slowly getting there. It was a real job. You'd sit there for a couple of hours and go a couple of meters, and then, oh, time to get ready for work, go to work, come back the next day, get a couple more meters done. So lots of blisters, but it was a good job. Yeah, the gloves don't work. Tried the gloves to stop the blisters, but for digging out the holes, nothing better than a bare hand for reaching into a hole like that. Might have missed it because it sped the video up too much. One stage there, working with the shovel, a snake tail, wiggling snake tail. Didn't see the snake, but obviously hit the tail with the shovel and took off a couple of centimeters of snake tail, and it was wiggling. It was wiggling because I must have just cut it off with the shovel and saw it wiggling like a worm, and picked it up and looked at it, and it was a snake tail. So some poor snake had his tail just sticking out there somewhere, and I've collected it. So we know there are snakes in there. We've seen them in the garden before, so we know there's snakes in there. Get the occasional centipede as well, so there's Mercadia in there as well. So probably wearing gloves is probably not a bad idea, but it's just nothing better than a bare hand for getting a grip on something and feeling things and digging out the dirt and separating the dirt from the weeds, because we want to throw the dirt on the grass and then throw the weeds in the rubbish. So slowly getting there. It's starting to join up with the other side, which was about 80 centimeters. So we had to get one more piece and cut a bit off it with the grinder and then put it in place. So the whole job, the barriers and a couple of bags of, or one bag of concrete, because we already had half a bag, one bag of premixed concrete was 4,000 yen, so $40, which is a bit of a thing. Some of you guys know we don't like spending money on the old farmhouse, because we know that eventually it'll all get demolished probably. But it just, so much work goes into keeping this bamboo under control that it's worth spending this time and money on it just to contain it, so don't have to spend so much time on it every weekend, because as it is, every weekend we're sort of fighting against it. We love the bamboo, but we just don't want it to take over the house, take over the whole garden, which it would. If we let it go, it'd take over the whole garden, and then the kids would have nowhere to play, and it'd bring down the power lines. To the left of the fat man there, straight above there is the power line and the phone line. And we've got to keep cutting it back from there, because in a strong wind like a typhoon or something, the bamboo starts to hit on the power line and the phone line. So we don't want that. So got to try and keep it away so it doesn't do that. So here's the end result. Just put a little bit of concrete where the joins were, because we assume it's going to be under a bit of pressure from the inside, from the bamboo. So just where the plastic joins, the joins on them are really strong. They're pretty good, but just to give them a bit of support everywhere, just to support it. So if it does get a bit of pressure from the bamboo, that it's going to make it less likely for it to separate, help it stay together. And then occasionally too, if we can see some pushing going on there, we'll cut some bits off if we have to now and again. But we're assuming instead of every weekend having to do something on it, we'll probably be able to just now and again as required. You might notice the maki trees on the left there, guys. Some of you would have seen when they were planted. They're doing rather well. So it's hard to see, but on the left there, the power line and the phone line. So have to do a bit more trimming on the bamboo itself this week. So anyway, that was that project. Hopefully someone found that interesting. More videos coming soon.